Suki and Eve have been keen to expand their family ever since they tied the knot. However, they faced numerous obstacles along the way, with more to come. This week, they are due to appear before the adoption panel, but tensions are running high. Already this week, Suki has been confronted by Vinny Panesar, Shiv Jalota, over the upcoming anniversary of Jags Panesar's death, who scolded her for not caring. Viewers will recall that Jags was killed during an attack in prison, and the anniversary happens to fall on the day of Suki and Eve's adoption panel. Suki and Vinny are set to have a further heart-to-heart in upcoming scenes, but when she returns home, Eve can sense she is upset. Prior to the hearing, Suki also has several run-ins with Nicola Mitchell, Laura Doddington, and by the time they get in front of the adoption panel, the emotions are all too much for Suki. When the panel asks about her other children, she gets overwhelmed and flees, leaving their adoption hopes hanging in the balance. However, as Vinny attempts to keep her spirits up, Suki receives a call from their adoption officer. Meanwhile, drunk Eve has her own run-in with Nicola while drowning her sorrows in Harry's barn, lashing out when Nicola badmouths Suki. Fortunately, it would seem that Suki's call is good news, as next week sees a girl called Rhea placed in Suki and Eve's care. Things don't get off to a great start, as the couple struggle to connect with Rhea. However, they are determined to make progress and move forward as a family. Will they be able to help Rhea settle into her new home, or will there be more obstacles ahead? The atmosphere in Albert Square was tense as Suki Panesar sat silently at the kitchen table, staring at a pile of adoption paperwork. Across from her, Eve Onwin watched her wife carefully, knowing exactly what was weighing on her mind. For months they had dreamed of giving young Rhea a permanent home. The bright-spirited little girl had become the center of their world, bringing laughter and hope into their lives. But now unexpected complications threatened to tear that dream apart. It's another delay, Suki sighed, dropping the latest letter onto the table. Eve picked it up and scanned the contents. Her jaw tightened. They're questioning whether we're providing enough stability because of recent family issues, she snapped. That's ridiculous. Suki shook her head. They've looked at everything. My past, the Panesar family history, even the recent drama surrounding Nish. Eve's eyes flashed with anger. We've done everything they've asked. We love Rhea. That's what matters. But deep down, both women knew the adoption board would need more convincing. Meanwhile, Rhea remained blissfully unaware of the growing crisis. She was at school, excitedly preparing a project about families. The thought of disappointing her broke Suki's heart. That evening, Eve suggested a new approach. We stop waiting for them to make assumptions and start showing them exactly who we are. Suki raised an eyebrow. And how do we do that? We fight. The following days became a whirlwind of activity. Eve organized meetings with social workers, teachers, and community members who knew the couple well. She was determined to build an undeniable picture of the loving home they had created. At first, Suki worried they were pushing too hard. What if this backfires? She asked. It won't, Eve replied firmly, because we're telling the truth. As word spread through Walford, support began pouring in. Friends from the square stepped forward with glowing references. Neighbors praised Suki's dedication and Eve's warmth. Even people who had once clashed with the Panesars admitted that Suki had changed dramatically over the years. One afternoon, a social worker visited the house for another assessment. The timing couldn't have been worse. Rhea had accidentally broken a vase, and the child was close to tears when the official arrived. Suki knelt beside her. It's only a vase, she said gently. Nobody's angry. But it was special, Rhea whispered. Eve crouched beside them. You know what's more special than a vase? Rhea looked up. You. The social worker quietly observed the interaction. No rehearsed speeches. No staged performance. Just a family. Later that week, however, another obstacle emerged. An anonymous complaint was filed questioning the suitability of the adoption. Shocked everyone. Someone claimed Suki's family connections could expose Rhea to unnecessary risks. When the news reached Suki, she was devastated. No matter what I do, my past keeps following me. Eve wrapped her arms around her. Your past isn't who you are. But what if it's enough to stop this? Eve looked her directly in the eyes. Then we'll prove them wrong together. Determined not to let fear win, the couple requested a formal hearing. The day arrived sooner than expected. Sitting before the adoption panel, Suki felt more nervous than she had in years. Questions came rapidly. About family. About finances. About stability. About Ria's future. For a moment Suki feared everything was slipping away. Then Eve spoke. Passion filled every word. She described the first time Ria had laughed in their home. The bedtime stories. The school projects. The way Suki always checked on her before bed. The future they had planned together. By the time Eve finished, the room had fallen silent. Then Suki spoke too. Unlike her usual confident self, she spoke from the heart. I've made mistakes in my life, she admitted. But loving Ria isn't one of them. She deserves a family that will fight for her every day. That's exactly what we're doing. The panel listened carefully. Days passed. Then came the phone call. Suki stared at her mobile as it rang. Eve stood beside her, barely breathing. Hello.